Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Hey everybody, what's up? I hope you are crushing it. Now, look, real quick, we've been off the last couple of weeks. I'm sorry about that. I've been recuperating from a motorcycle crash. I ride supermoto, and if you don't know what that supermoto is, it's basically a dirt bike with street tires. And normally, I just rip around the hills around where I live here in San Diego. A few weeks ago, I went to a track, and I felt super fast, all right? I'm lapping everybody, and I'm winning, going down the straights, popping wheelies, and I got overconfident, man. Went around a corner, hit a patch of oil, and I went down. Crashed. I broke my hand. Got a couple pins right through my hand. So voila, you guys didn't get an episode for weeks. We're back. All right, so let's get to it. Before we get to today's episode, I want to share a few thoughts. And it's this, right? So during the pandemic, the ever-present thing people wanted to talk about is lack of inventory. And this lack of inventory, maybe started on the West, and it's now in every metro market in the United States. And that trend of lack of inventory, unless something weird happens, it's going to stay with us through 2021, maybe and beyond. Now, I had just read that there are now 2 licensed realtors for each home listed. That's crazy, right? Those are unreal numbers. And I think we need to consider the implications of that data. So if we look at right now, the average shelf life of an agent is 18 months. Career, start to finish, a year and a half. Those agents that make it past a year and a half and that make it will only sell an average of 8 to 12 sides a year, most of them on the buy side. Right? That's like the middle class, 8 to 12 sides. That's fine. Most markets are making, you can live off that. Now, I think if we continue in this low inventory environment, we're going to see those numbers drop, right? Maybe the average agent will do 4 to 6 sides. And if that happens, we will most likely see the shelf life shrink, maybe to less than a year. Maybe. Now, what happens right then? Will this give rise to larger and larger teams or just more teams in general? I think one thing for sure is certain, and that is the middle is shrinking, right? There are people that are crushing it and the ones that are getting crushed or just scraping by. Right. And every market's like this, right? You might take a Denver, for example. There might be 4 teams that are doing 100+ deals a year. Right. And then you have, a sort of like this next group of people that are working really hard. Maybe they're doing 30 to 40 sides, but the average agent, right, 8 to 12, right? They're making a living. Who knows what's going to happen here? Will this stay the same or is it going to change? I don't know. I can tell you that this story is just taking shape. And I think we need to ask ourselves, right, where do we want to be? Do we want to be the ones crushing it or the ones getting crushed? And I think that the differentiator is and will continue to be for the near future is this, right? Number one, who can reach the most people at the cheapest cost per person? And then once you do reach those people, how do you then start to develop some sort of connection, some kind of relationship, some sort of at least name unique identifier? Right? How do you do that? And the people that do that, those are the ones going to win. And I'll tell you, I think this is just going to turn into an ad on not on purpose, but for the last 10 years, the people that are crushing it, all those people were on radio, right? You get to tell a story. You get 60 seconds. You get to tell a story, who you are, why you're special, why people should call you. Bang. That's it. Right? And you're reaching massive amounts of people every day part, right? AM, midday, afternoon. I think radio is something that you 100% should look at for 2021. I'm not going to listen. If you want to know more, you can go to myradioexpert.com, fill out the getting started sheet, and we'll see if there's a good fit. I literally did not mean to turn that into a commercial, but there you go. Look, let's just get to the show. Today on the show, I'm thrilled to have today's guest. He's in Calgary, Canada. He has a team of 7, but with that team of 7 last year, he did 500 transactions. I'm thrilled to welcome Brad Van de Wal. Brad, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. So the funny thing is real estate in Canada is in a lot of ways very different than here in the U.S. And what I mean by that is, particularly when I think in terms of outreach, right? Because we put people on radio and television. We've had some clients in Canada, and you guys have a truth in lending or truth in advertising law that is insanely difficult to get out and say, this is why I'm special. Why are you special, man? You got a team of 7. You did 500 deals. Like what are you doing?
Well,
We're jumping right into it.
I think, yeah, no, I love it. I think the major part of it, honestly, man, is that we just had a concept where, our economy's been in the shits for, I don't know, man, probably 6 or 7 years in Calgary. And it kept going down and down in the sales, but, we still were figuring out a way to accelerate. And then we kind of ran into a situation where a developer asked us to sell out a building for them or to sell some of the building. And we did great. We sold 25 of the, I think 188 that there was. And then all of a sudden my business partner, Mark, is like, man, this deal's going to tank if we don't figure something out. So we thought outside the box, and we actually marketed the whole building to Toronto. And in Toronto, there's a ton of equity in there because their housing has been going bananas like in the rest of North America, except for Calgary. So, we put together a program with, 5-year rental guarantees and 10% down. And we ended up crushing a building of 188 units and then made history, to be honest, in our city. Nobody had ever done that before, especially to all investors. And then they're like, that was a fluke. And then we went and did it again, not even 10 months later, and sold another 90. And then we're in the middle of doing it again and selling like 50. So we figured out something that's working quite well for us. That's been a big part of our business.
That's huge. But so I want to go back because I'm often, intrigued by how people, really develop these. Number one, find these niches, right? Find this angle that nobody else is looking at. And then the second part is, once you identify the niche, how do you go out and, for lack of a better word, exploit that, right? How do you make the most of that opportunity while you have it? So, the economy is not great. Did you have this idea for selling the buildings, or is this serendipity? Is this one of those things where just you happen to be right place, right time, you meet this guy, and is that how it happened, or is this did you manufacture it, I guess?
Well, I believe that you manufacture it to a certain degree, no matter what you do, right? I kind of believe you create your own destiny, and right. Grant Cardone, love him or hate him. We were listening to a book and it said something resonated with us. It said, create your own economy. So it's more challenging than you think. And we're like, okay, well, how can we create our own economy? So we're looking across the United States, and it's going to be like, well, international buyers are going to be difficult for this revenue program that we have. But Toronto's heard of Calgary, and every single person that's bought a house in Toronto has a ton of equity, and our prices here are less than half. So, we flew to Toronto a few times. This was kind of right before COVID hit, and then ended up just picking up momentum, making the right partnerships, met with a ton of agents, had a lot of no's, a bunch of yeses, and created and orchestrated a program that now we have investors that are excited for, that actually call us when we have a project next. So we've almost created this thing in Calgary where people are now looking, okay, what do you have next? What's coming next? What's coming next? So we've kind of created this thing after about a year and a half that now there's realtors that are looking, because the truth is that from an investment standpoint, Calgary is unbelievable. Our market's is starting to roar back. So it's truly a great investment opportunity, and it allows realtors from Toronto, because realtors will go in, try to find a building, and they might have put in 40 offers to only get 2, where if there are business partners, they probably put in 40 and get 37.
Wow.
So where are you going to spend more of your time? So we've also created those relationships where realtors are like, I know that if I promote this product, I'm going to get paid and it's a good investment. So it's yeah, it's a little bit of all the above. I don't know what to tell you. We kind of got a little bit of luck, but to put your nuts out there and do it.
Well, and it's always like that. I mean, I think, I think that, I think there's a saying, and I can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's like, when opportunity is when preparation meets something, right? Like, or,
Right.
I forget the exact quote, but that's what happens, right? If you tune your radar to creating your own economy, then all of a sudden you start to see those things. And the funny thing about real estate is, most people honestly do nothing, right? The average realtor sells like 8 deals a year. That's it. And then you are, what you guys are doing are clearly you are, 1/4 of the top 1%. And, the difference between, somebody like you and the regular person is that, everybody play in this industry, everybody plays follow the leader, right? Like, so you've done this thing, and I want to talk about really kind of, mechanically what you've done,
Yeah.
but, we're going to get this out there, and all of a sudden people are going to go, oh, that's a great idea, right? Only Brad Van Del Walt is doing that in, Canada. I'm going to take this to, Minneapolis or Chicago or, whatever.
Of course.
But I often think that, it takes a certain kind of personality, like there's a certain kind of risk profile of an individual that is willing to hear a line like create your own economy, sit down and really do it, and then go and execute it. So, in terms of like risk and, really doing something that hasn't been done before, man, right? Like, I mean, that's
Never.
right. So you're either going to make it, which you have,
Yep.
or blow up, right? I mean, literally that's how it goes most of the time. So, I mean, lead me up to the fact where, you were in a spot where you were willing to put all your chips on the table and say, I'm going to double up here, or I'm going to go to zero.
Well, I think that what it is, when we sat there in our office and my business partner, Mark, kind of came up with this concept where he said, we're going to sell them to other realtors. And to be honest, at first I kind of shut it down because it's face-to-face meetings still, I think, are the best, because he explained it over the phone. And I'm like, I don't know, man, like that doesn't even make any sense really. And then he sat me down and ran me through it. And I was like, well, the worst case that's going to happen is this building doesn't go through. That's the worst case. And then a lot of people lose jobs and it doesn't look great. I said, well, what's the best case scenario? I'm like, well, honestly, our best case scenario is like, well, we sell out half and we get to where we got to be. I'm like, well, it's a pretty good scenario to be in. So I don't know if I can swear on this, but I would. And I'm like, F it. Like, let's go and do this. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. And then we flew out to Toronto a few times and we met the right people that are out there and the top realtors and said, this is why Calgary is great to invest in. And we got them on board and we slowly got more people on board. And it's to the point where, like last time, our last project, we had over 200 agents from Toronto reach out to us to ask to try to sell our product, reaching out to us. Right. So I think that the worst case scenario is it's like, if it's not going to bankrupt, and I looked at him like, is this going to bankrupt my family if I go and try this? No. What is it going to be? 15 or 20 grand, but your return is exponential. And the truth is now we're known, and especially my business partner, Mark, like we're known as the people that now do this in Calgary. Like, what's that worth? Like now it's like, oh, they sold out this building. Oh, they just sold out another building. The building that we're selling out right now, again, literally was 50% sold. We had to sell a certain amount or else they were crashing that building. And so we got that over to the finish line and above. We almost sold everything out. So the systems we have in play, it's just the risk is so worth it. Like, just put yourself out there. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? If the worst thing that can happen isn't death, then go after it. If you're going to die, maybe think twice about doing it. But other than that, just give her.
I'm with you. So, hold on. Check. Okay, now I'm back. That's weird. My mic went out for a second. So, okay, Brad, because I don't even know clearly what you guys did. Can you take maybe just a minute or two to explain it, and then we'll get into the mechanics? Because I'll tell you right now, what I really want to get to is the mechanics of what you guys figured out. You explain how you were already bought into it, and you'd already calculated the upside and the downside of doing this. But then I want to talk about what you guys did, right? What, like the marketing to get this out. So can you, for the people who don't have any clue as to what you did, can you summarize it in a couple minutes?
I can. Yeah, absolutely. So basically the idea came, the concept came that we had to sell these. We basically had to sell this building. That's the first thing. But then we're like, okay, well, how are we going to do this and how are we going to make it appealing? So then we had to negotiate with the developer, which was, I don't remember if it was a 3 or 5. I think it was a 3-year rental guarantee. So what that means is that as soon as possession goes in there, that the developer was going to rent out all the units, and there was a 3-year rental guarantee, which alleviates risk for the investor. So we came up with terms with that, put that on paper, and the good thing is that this building was 3 years out. Now, I think if you're marketing to somewhere, you have to know what they want. People in Toronto want something with low deposit and basically something that's really like at least 2 to 4 years out so they can gain appreciation. So it's no different if I'm presenting something.
Right.
So, for example, we presented a building to our Toronto investors that was 6 months out. It flopped. Like, we didn't go out and market it, so to speak, but we got an opportunity a couple of weeks ago, and this developer's like, hey, this is ready in 6 months. Can you do this? I said, I don't think we can, but I'll ask. We talked to our top guys, and they're like, no, it's got to be at least 2 years out. So the secret is finding the recipe, as Mark says. So my business partner. So Mark came in, and he figured out, it's like, hey, it's 2 years out. It's a 5% deposit with a bond, and then it's a 3-year rental guarantee. And people are like, man, this stuff doesn't exist. And in Alberta, compared to Ontario, we have no land transfer tax, no building levies. Like, their closing fees might be 50 to 75 grand. We're here at 1,500. So there's so many advantages that we show to, and then came up with the concept, and then we didn't know if it worked. Then we talked to 40. We scheduled an event, flew to Toronto, invited 40 or 50 of the top realtors from the area. Let's say 35 showed. We did a presentation, put it at a nice swanky restaurant. And put it in there. We did it. But our failure was, like, we went to the public. So we also flew down there, spent thousands of dollars on getting leads. And I rented out a hotel, like, conference room. And I had, like, the day before, I had 150 people that were going to show up. I'm like, man, this is going to be bananas. 3 people showed up, and I spent a week calling all day, like spending like hours and hours and hours. And I had 3 people show. I'm like, well, that sucked. So we learned that maybe that wasn't the best way to do it, because Mark really goes with the realtors. Mark has the realtor relationships, and I have the relationship with the public investors that aren't represented by realtors. So I'm like, okay, that was a waste of time, but then it just made us shift. So then what we did is Mark still made his realtor relationships, keep building those, getting a database. And then what I did is I went and became the face of the organization, and we started doing Facebook marketing. And then I would do webinars every week on why invest in Calgary, and I talk about the project. Mm-hmm. So we sold a bunch that way to investors. So instead of me flying to Toronto, renting a space, spending all this money, I'm like, I'm just going to do it now virtually with Zoom. And we've probably made $500,000 just from Zooms doing that.
Sure. But so if I understand you right, so you're going out to forget the investor piece of it. You're going to a developer, and he's either buying an existing building or it's ground up. It doesn't matter. There's a product that's going to be delivered in 2 or 3 years from now. And so you have a relationship with this guy, you meet this guy, whatever, and he just fundamentally says, okay, I'm going to give there's 50 units in this building, I'm going to give them all to you, and then you go and market it, but you don't get paid for 2 years, right, until those things close if the deposits are low.
We get paid 50% when they dig and 50%. So I'll tell you the one that we're doing right now, that we're just finishing up. They start digging in April, so we'll get 50% now and then 50% in the 2 years. And so are all the realtors that came by.
Interesting. And wow, okay, but how much are the deposits? Like, do the end consumer deposit? I'm trying to figure out who's funding your the 50%, right? Are the deposits big enough to cover your fees? Rather than the developer he pays out fees for this fundamental lead that may or may not perform in 2 years when the product's delivered?
Yeah, I would say that it is. In most cases, it's 10%. So 10% of 400,000, let's just use this 40 grand. Commission on that's 36. So it's pretty tight, but that's, in theory, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So you find this thing, but still, man, so you have this great idea. It looks like it's working, but the proof is when the product gets delivered, right? And then people close on it. And, assuming that everybody's predictions can't, happen, meaning that I bought 2 years ago and today that same 2-bedroom, condo downtown is worth 20% more, whatever it is, right? Then everybody's going to close and it's going to be good. And I guess that now that I'm thinking about it, I just answer my own question, because real estate's been so great everywhere. So of course they appreciated, and of course they all closed.
Well, to be honest with you, none of the buildings that we've done have closed. We've sold all 3. This is all in the last 12 months.
I see.
So like this is only recently. This is only in the last 12 months. We haven't even had a building that's closed. We have one that's closing probably the next 2 to 3 months, and then another one's still 2 years out. Another one's still another 2 years out. We just picked up another one that's gonna be 2.5 years out. So all of our stuff is like we're banking for 2023 and beyond.
Wow, it's like kind of like having stock options that are gonna vest,
Exactly.
and you're like, you're just waiting. You're like, okay, well, those things, I know what the value is in those things. That's okay. That's cool, man. Well, okay, so let's get to the marketing piece because you have this product that nobody has, right? It's 2 years out. I totally understand how you can make a solid, webinar pitching, low down payments, like low upfront costs, right? Calgary's going crazy, or it's gonna go crazy, How did you market this new idea that hadn't been done before? I know you said Zooms, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying the concept's pretty. Every builder, even if the building's 2 to 3 years out, has insane marketing. So all we did is it didn't cost us anything because we're just using what marketing they already had to launch the building. So they still had virtual tours that were done. They still had like everything you could think of. Like they gave us a whole marketing package that we just got to in turn go ahead and use. So everything was already there. So when we did the presentation, we just had to put a slideshow together of the stuff they already had, talking about pricing, showing returns, showing appreciation. Pretty much everything was there, but it's a project that is going ahead in theory. So that's the easiest part is it's not like, hey, Brad, you need to go spend $100,000 on marketing. You need to go do this.
Oh,
it's
God.
like, here's the whole marketing package.
Get it out there.
Take it and run it through. Exactly. We just got to put it to the world.
Oh my God. Yeah. What a fantastic. Okay. Well then, all right. So at this point we could either talk about like because out of your 500 deals that you did last year, half of them are in these buildings, right? You still are doing with a 7-person team, you're still doing a phenomenal amount of regular transactions, right? A couple hundred at least. Do you want to talk about what because look, here's one of the things. Here's where I would be in your shoes, right? And I can give you all sorts of times where I've been sort of in your shoes. Sitting on something that's going to pay out, once it matures, i.e. stock options, or there's a bunch of different things, private placements. I invested in a bunch of companies prior to going public, and I'm like, okay, yeah, everything's going good. They're making a ton of money. They're going to go public in 2 years, and then it does or doesn't, and it doesn't work out the way that I thought. So, how much time do you spend being concerned or trying to protect what you already have? It could be your buildings. It could be this concept. Versus, growing the organic business that you're doing another 250 deals on the other side of the house.
I think it's a combination of both because it takes time to find it. The best part about that is here's the coolest part is we make a lot less money. However, it sells out quickly. So I'll give you an example. Like now that we have, realtors that trust us because we pay them well, every realtor gets paid 4%. That's part of it. So it's you're getting paid well. Your clients are getting rental guarantees, like all these things that they've asked for, we've delivered. Like we now have an army of 50 or 60 people that want to go out and do this, and it's only growing as we sell more. So literally, we have another building that we're in talks with that's probably going to be about 80 or 100. I bet you we'll sell that out in 3 weeks. So it's a lot of work ramping up. It's a lot of work calling people. But then the best part is it's like you use your realtor network and they sell all 80 for you or 100 or whatever it is. And then at the end you come in and then the developer has their own staff. So the developer in most cases are doing 90% of the contracts. They're doing everything. You're basically facilitating it, right?
Right. But hold on. So that is a dream spot to be in. It is a dream spot to be in because you know what? You already have this equity in the marketplace from the realtor category as well as from the developer and investment category, right? That says Brad is the guy, right? If you have a new building or you have a client that wants a new unit in a new building, Brad Van de Wal is the guy. The scary thing for you is again, how are you going to protect this niche? What's going to stop me? I'm not going to do this, Brad. I'm just saying.
But no, it's fine. But no, it's all good. No, and the truth is, what's going to stop most people is they can't do it and they don't have the balls to do it. Like I literally every Thursday, I teach on a live webinar for my coaching program. I teach how to do first-time homebuyer seminars via Zoom because I do them every week. And last year I made $250,000. This year I'll probably make close to $400,000 or $500,000 just from doing Zoom seminars to first-time homebuyers.
Yeah.
I've done this every week, day in and day out for 15 weeks now. No, maybe not quite. Maybe 12 weeks. Guess how many agents have actually implemented it?
Zero. Dude, I know.
Zero.
I know this. I mean,
Zero.
There's,
And that's easy. Like that's literally putting on a Zoom, not like trying to find a developer. Then you have to try to convince them it's a good idea and you have no track record. Then you got to fly across the country.
Right.
Like think of how many barriers of entry there are here is you've got to Mark's like my business partner, Mark's, like I said, he's the guy who does all the realtor stuff. They all know him, like him, and trust him. That's his avenue. My avenue is the investor side of things so that we can get 6%, to be honest, because we get paid normally 6%. 4% goes to the broker, 2% goes to us. So if I go find my own, then we get paid 6%, which is big payday. So I focus on that. I let Mark focus on the realtor relationships. So he has most of the realtor relationships. But man, do you know how many companies have tried to do this in our city? Like the developer working for now, he's like, dude, I flew to Toronto like 4 or 5 times and nobody even showed up for my meetings. And I'm like, oh, we've been there. So we've done that legwork. People know us now. So the hard work's been done. Like the really, really hard work has been done. Now it's still hard work, but you have every building you sell out, you have less resistance and less resistance. Yeah. And now Calgary's economy is turning around, so you have less resistance. I challenge anybody to go do that. Go ahead and all the power to you. And I hope everybody can. But the truth is, like thinking out loud, if I'm like, man, New York City's becoming a ghost town. And if I'm living in Florida, I'm like, man, I should just seriously do Facebook advertisements to people in New York City so they could sell their places and come out to Florida, or I get a project and they invest out there because Florida's going bananas, but it's so expensive. Like I would do that if I could cross the border. As soon as COVID's up, like I'm flying over land. Like one of the first places I go to is Florida, and I'm just going to market this. All the people in like LA, in New York, people have tons of equity in their home, and they're like, are you kidding me? That's how much this costs, and I can have this, or I can rent it out. So it's still in our list. It's just right now it's just a lot harder with what's going on in the world.
Right. No, I totally get it. And I think you're 100% right. I mean, there's so many times where people have come, we've been doing this show for a long time, man, since 2013, and people come on with phenomenal ideas, right? And sometimes they're really early. It was, we had a lot of this, especially around when Facebook was just coming up and, and people didn't understand how to do Facebook marketing or if it worked. And the reality is, Brad, is that even if it works for you, and I believe it works for me, the reality is people might try doing a webinar, a Zoominar, whatever, 1, 2, 3 times, and nobody's showing up, or they do a decent enough, or they have some kind of list, right? Let's say Facebook, they're in some group, and they get enough people to come, but then nothing happens, right? They can't link actual money in from this Zoom 1 or 2 Zoom calls they did, so they stop it. And again, that kind of point, I kind of asked this earlier, man. What is it about you? What did you develop within you that these kind of things where you were getting zeros, but you just kept on going, right? You rented out this dude. I don't know how much you spent renting out that hotel suite.
Lot.
And 3 people came, like most people's
thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
Because I had free booze. Like you had to prepay for it. So I prepaid for all the food. I prepaid for all the booze for like 100 people. I would have got shit faced for 3 months if I would have sat there by myself with everything I had to pay for. But it's just part of the licks that you take. Like name anybody who's at the top. It's not like they went like, oh my God, it was so easy and every single thing I did worked. That's not how that works. And I did take my licks. I did do Zoom seminars where nothing's in. And then I'm like, okay, screw this. I'm terrible at this marketing shit. I need to find somebody who's good. So I outsourced somebody. And now for all of our webinars, we use Webinar Jam instead of Zoom. But there's insane follow-up techniques now where it's like, I'm like, hey, I gave somebody my vision and they created it. But then also the close at the end, I sucked at the close. Basically, it's like, okay, like, who wants a unit? And I'm like, I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, I'm an idiot. This is terrible. And then you just kind of go, okay, like we have 5 units left. These are the only 5 units. The people that are serious, here's my direct number. Text me. The people that aren't serious, feel free to book a call. And I would have 20 or 30, sometimes even 40 text messages saying, I want this unit, I want this unit, I want this unit, I want this unit. And they were limited to an extent, but I had to decipher the people that were at least moderately serious to that, because I'd have hundreds of people that would want me to follow up with them. And I wouldn't even get to all of them because I knew that only 2 or 3% were going to buy.
Yep.
So I had to get creative with my time and say, if you want to buy tonight, the expectation is I am sending you an offer tonight. If you don't want to, do not text my cell number. And you'd still have people that are like, oh, I was just curious. And like, I'm even saying like, it drove me nuts. So you just adapt and you get better, because it's something that's never been done before or very few times. So you just have to, there's no manual on how to do it. You just got to create your own manual.
No, look, I get it. I 100% get everything you're saying. And I agree with everything you're saying. I think what I'm trying to explore here with you, Brad, is there's something in you whereby you kept pushing on, right? Maybe it was just an insane belief that this could happen. I don't know, but most people like will stop, right? They do a couple Zoom calls and they get 100 people, and then they don't get to the point where you are. Well, look, here's what I'll tell you, man. You have this idea, right? Everything's going, right? You try the conference, you lose money, it doesn't work, right? You try these webinars and you think you're a great sales guy, and because everybody loves you, and then at the end you're like, who wants a unit? And then crickets, right? And then you got you, and then again, what you did, you said, oh, I need training. I'm willing to invest again, make another investment in this potentially bad idea, where you get some help in terms of how to properly structure and do a webinar, and then it works, right? Then you have the stick to it that it works. So I guess I'll ask you again, man, and this will be my last time. But like, what did you play sports? Like, what is it in your makeup that makes you go back to the batting cage and go, yeah, I struck out. Let me just adjust this one thing and do it again.
If you don't stop, you don't fail.
That's true. Until you crash, right? You can keep on
going. But
going.
Even then, like, you can't keep, like, the truth is you can keep going, but at some point, like, failure is not an option. I've never failed at anything ever in my life that I've given 100% to. Now, I've sucked at some things. I'm not the best. Like, there's so many things, but truly, where if I looked at myself and gave 100%, maybe it's not the outcome, but I've never considered it a failure. Like, I'm my own worst enemy, what's in my head. I wake up every single morning with scarcity. I wouldn't care if I had $200 million in the bank. I'd be like, okay, well, I got nothing on the go today. I've got to go try to create more. And that's just something that's one of my unique features that I have as an individual is I don't need somebody I don't need a coach. I don't need somebody to push me, because internally God or the universe or whatever you believe in gave me that, and gave me the ability to bounce back, and it gave me the ability to hear such bullshit like you're never going to do it, and all the things that you hear when you're trying to do something. It's just like, man, of course I'm going to do it. Have you not met me before? Like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Like, it might not be the way that you want it to do. It might not be the way that I thought it was going to happen, but it's going to get done. And the number one thing, though, too, is surrounding yourself by the right people. Like, I can't stress that enough, because it's not all me. Like I said, Mark Verzile is a huge part of it, my business partner. He came up with the concept. I helped him execute. Then I have a marketing team named Shane Hillier. He helps me, and he markets all this stuff through Facebook. And then I have another marketing part in Niagara Falls with Yaman and Joe. And they have this other marketing thing they do. And it took all of us to finally create this superstar version of what it is now, where now our attendance rates go up because we started using Webinar Jam. And now it's like, you get a text the day before, you get a text 3 days a reminder. You get a text the day of. You get a text an hour before. You get a text 5 minutes before. You get a text 5 minutes after for people who think they're late. And by slowly adding all this stuff, our conversion rates started going from 20% to 75%. And then as I got better on my practice and get better on Zoom, because I'm super comfortable on Zoom, we had about a 70% rate where everybody would stay to, like, now we're at like 98% where people stay till the end. So it's like, you just got to really like hone your craft. Like, if all of a sudden I get to a point in my presentation and I've done it 2 or 3 times and people start dropping at that same amount, I'm losing them there. So then either fix it or get rid of it, because you're losing people at that amount. So it's just really paying attention to how you can be better. And looking in the mirror and being able to handle, like, I'm 40. I don't care about anything anymore. Like, I care about my family. I care about stuff, but I don't care what people say about me. Like a lot of people do. I think it's when you hit that 40 mark. For me, it was just like, I don't care what you think about me. Like, I'm a good guy. I'm great to people. My fiance and my dog love me next. Like, I don't care. I'm trying to accomplish something, but being okay with getting feedback, whether it's positive or negative. What people don't understand and realize about feedback is that's how somebody perceives you, whether it's real or not. That's what they think is real. So if you can truly sit there and be like, give me feedback, where did I suck? And be able to take it, not like a pansy, and that's just how somebody's experiencing you, that's not saying who they think you are, then I think you can really adapt and change, and really you can 10x yourself pretty quick.
You're right. You're right. But so here's what I'd say to you is you know, in your temperament, right? Like you said a line earlier that I loved, right? Because I feel the same way, right? Like if somebody says you can't do that, and your response was like, "Have you met me before?" Right? Because you know, if you know me, that you know that I'm going to go through that wall or go over it, or around, or whatever, do whatever I need. The problem, often I'll talk for me, right? For me,
yeah.
I have that insane belief about me, and I have a track record that proves that. I'm a little bit older than you, you know, but I got to a point where I was failing, and my insane belief, you know, with deals, and I didn't have enough humility to accept the kind of feedback that you're talking about, right? Like, where did I suck? And somebody tells you, and then my sense I would explain, oh, well, you're not, you know, well, here's what I would think. I'd be like, you're not really getting why I did that. Okay, if I lost you that point, it's because you know, you didn't really get, this is the turning point. And you know, somehow you developed enough humility. Again, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why you're able to go and build a team of marketing people and keep pushing on, because you know it's a process.
It's a big process, man. And I'm humble enough, like I don't, this interview is not a ton of time, and you obviously don't know me very well, but I'm pretty humble when I get on these podcasts and things. I do with them a lot now every week. It's time for me to shine for 45 minutes or an hour, or whatever it is, and be like, hey, you can do this. And I can admit though, and I can admit that I suck. And I think that's like so hard for the average person to say, is like, oh, I'm not good at this. Like, I'm not saying I'm a baby. Like, if I'm pouting saying I'm not good at this, like, punch me in the face, I'm being a baby. But I will just tell you, like, I am not good at social media. I'm not good at managing people. Like, there's things that I know that I'm not good at. So if I know I'm not good at them, why beat your head? Find somebody that is. Because for somebody that's out there for whatever you think that you're really bad at or terrible, there's somebody they love doing it and they're the best. So just try to find that person. And maybe it takes you a month, maybe it takes you a week. But I'm nothing without my team, absolutely nothing without them, because they offer so much stuff that I just can't offer. I'm a huge visionary, but I need people to help me execute it.
Sure. No, and that understanding what you're good at, right? This is Strengths Finder, you know, like understanding who you are and what you're good at, and what you're not good at is phenomenally helpful, right? And then all you have to do is fill in the gaps of what you're not good at. You know, you use, it sounds like you use social media, primarily Facebook, to promote at least the early stuff. You know, moving into this year, and I, you know, well, at least, you know, we're certainly in the US, but you know, what's working for you today? Like what when it comes to, I guess, knowing what you know now, I'll ask this and then we can maybe pivot. Like, knowing what you know now, what do you wish you would have known when you were younger, or maybe a little bit earlier in this process?
The power of social media. Like, I don't use it. Like, I literally put like pictures of me drinking with my family and my dog. Like, that's truly what I use social media for. Like, if you follow me on Facebook, it's like, I love my Doberman more than anything, and my fiance, and it's not, I've never used it for business. And then, you know, I just partnered up with a guy in Toronto, and he's on TikTok, and he has 15,000 followers on TikTok. Some of his videos get 2 million views.
Yeah,
and like, imagine the outreach of that. And I'm like, where could I be in my career if I would have just done that 5 years ago? Because for me, I am fairly instant. Like, one of my negative attributes at times can be, I want like something right away. It's like, if I'm going to make calls, I want it now. It's like, for me to sit there and post a video to have 20 followers to one day maybe have, you know, 200, and it's going to take a year. That makes me want to puke in my mouth. Like, that's just, it's disgusting. But some of these kids are doing that now, and they're hyper successful, and good for them, because they're still having the challenges of, like, they'll throw out a video that is nothing, and all these different things. And like, I went down the rabbit hole at Christmas time, and I started following this guy named Mr. Beast, and he's super cool because he's got like millions of followers. He's young and he gives away a bunch of money. And I was like, man, I wish I could do that one day. I'm like, no, I wish he could. I'll watch from the sidelines, but it would be cool, but I just don't want to put in the work. I think social media, I would have made a big staple of my business, and I've never done that in my career ever.
Right. Well, I've done it to some degree because we've had this podcast and we have, you know, a YouTube following as well. And, you know, but I will tell you that I haven't, me personally, like, and maybe talking to you, I may rethink some of this. You know, when a new, you know, like Gary V, when Snapchat came out, and Gary V, you know, he had a bunch of money in Snapchat early, and so he was promoting it. And I played with Snapchat a little bit, and I was like, God, it just doesn't feel right to me, right? Like I didn't get it. And then TikTok, right? Like I have 3 kids there on TikTok. You know, I just wouldn't perceive to use that for my business because, you know, the only thing I would think is, okay, that's the wrong demographic, right? I have many other times, you know, places I can spend my time. So when it comes to social media, right, there is the tried and true, right? Like the Facebooks of the world, the Instagrams of the world, right? The one company. But then you have new sort of avenues popping up, right? Like the thing that's been going crazy lately is Clubhouse, right? And
yeah.
How do you think about on a broad level? We can get down to specifics later, but on a broad level, what, like, when you say social media, like, what does that mean to you? And like where are you focusing your efforts today?
Well, I know it's multi-question. I guess, like, I went on Club because I'm so terrible. It truly gives me anxiety. Like, I mean, I talked about it with my fiance. She's like, you got to do it. You know, she's artsy. She's a photographer. You know what I mean? She's amazing in that field. And she's like, you got to start doing it. I'll never forget. I literally was so stressed out. Like, I had a headache. I was literally curled up in a ball in the hot tub thinking my life was over because I started having to do social media. Like, that's how much I hate it. But it's because the way my brain works. It's like, hey, great. I got to do video. Then it's got to be posted on Insta. Then it's got to be posted on Facebook. Then it's got to be posted on YouTube. And I'm just going on the list because I'm not just doing it just to do it. Like, if I'm doing it, it's got to be with a purpose to bring in more clients or make more money. Like, it's got to be purposeful, not just, oh, it's cute and maybe somebody watches my dog video. Like, if I'm doing this, I'm going to put everything I have. And that stressed me out. So now I hired a social media person. It wasn't very expensive. So she puts something in my calendar every day, and I have to do a video. That's all I have to do. And I love doing videos. So that's not the stress. Is I literally do a video now. She puts the topic in my calendar every day. I upload it on Google Drive for my phone, and then she posts it throughout social, and I don't have to think about it. So again, that's how I'm choosing to do it because I can't do the rest. I know I won't do it, but I know it's important.
Okay. Well, no, that's okay. Okay. All right. So you do a video every day, and then just somebody, like, because there's the content creation, right? Picking the topic, which sounds like somebody does that for you, and then you create the actual content, and then somebody mechanically uploads it to the places that it needs to be. So I mean, like this is 1:00 today, right now, 1:00 my time, Pacific. Like, what did you do today? What video did you post today? What did you create today?
Great question. I actually was running behind, so actually after you is when I'm doing it. However, my topic for today that I have to commit to getting it done because she just randomly puts it in my calendar, and it's like, I don't know if I can do it at that time. But today's topic is habits and routines for success. So then what I love, one thing I like doing is like being put on my toes. Like, I don't even look at what they are. So I don't know what tomorrow's is. I'll tell you though. So today it's habits and routines for success. So that's a video that I'm going to be doing. Tomorrow's video is advice you'd give a new agent. Then the one after that is how to get more referrals from your clients. So it's like all good stuff for realtors, and it's all free. Like, I just go maybe a 2 to 5 minute rant and kind of go over how to nail a listing presentation. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one. That's going to be good.
Well,
and then the other one is how to respond to sellers wanting you to cut commission. So that one will put me on my toes.
Yeah, and probably what she did. I mean, again, this is it wouldn't take that much effort to go and look at other successful realtors or not successful realtors,
Correct.
Whatever, and see what videos they have done, and she uploads them or gives them to you. I mean, so okay, you're later today. Once we get done, right? We're going to be done in a couple minutes. You're going to talk about habits, routines for success.
Yeah.
I often ask this question, so I'll ask it earlier than I normally do. You know, you're a successful guy, Brad. Do you have a habit or routine that has contributed to your success?
Oof. Do I have a habit? Yeah, my habits are
a little bit different
my habits
than
are that
yeah.
yeah. Do I have a habit or routine? I'm going to be honest with you. My routine is sometimes lack of routine. Like I don't like my days can get so crazy and I make excuses, but I don't take care of myself enough is the honest answer. Like, most of my days start at 6 a.m. I'm on podcasts out east or whatever it is, or doing different stuff for my coaching program out there. So I'll be on early. And then, I look and I'm going to 11 or 12 at night, and I'll do that for 4 weeks in a row. And then I start doing what I stopped doing what makes me successful because I stopped doing it. It's a habit that I've been over and over again. So the truth is, the best advice that I can give anybody is stick to a routine as much as you can. And it's not going to be perfect, but if you get out of your routine, get back in quick. Like, don't let it stretch a week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks. It's like, I didn't work out today. I was supposed to. That's great. Take a day off, but get back at it the next day. And that's something that I've tried to get better at is, whenever you get off your routine, and everybody does.
Right. You're right. But I think, I'll tell you, I'm not super, I kind of have like large scale routines, but not daily, like time blocked routines. I don't do that either because, my life is a little bit more dynamic than that, right? I have a lot of things happening and, I literally can't schedule my stuff because I don't know what's going to pop and I don't know where I'm gonna have to turn. It sounds to me like you are a little bit like that as well. The other thing though, Brad, is I think most people need a habit or routine because most people's general makeup is to avoid the hard stuff, right? Avoid work, right? They would much rather, watch TikTok or Netflix than pick up the phone and call somebody. You, on the other hand, you may not have a routine, but you sound like you're continually focused on moving your life ahead. And for you, right at 40, I'm 50, I'm 51. So, I've been 10 years ago. It seems like a very long time. But, for me at 40, I was still driving towards building the biggest amount of money that I could. And so all my energy, all my everything went towards that one thing. So I didn't need a routine. Because I was so focused. I that caused different problems in my life, but
Right.
being focused on just business and not relationships and my wife and everything else. A different topic, but okay, all right. So you don't have a habit or routine.
It's not an everyday thing, but my schedule's full every day. There's certain things that I'll do, right? Like now I try to go on the Peloton Monday to Friday, and I take the weekends off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But then, I had a brain injury a little while ago and I almost died. So that sucked. So I'm sometimes my body just doesn't let me do things, but then I get down on myself. It's like, look, man, you had a brain injury. You're not dead. It's okay. Take 3 days off, but I still try to, and then I'm like, okay, you just try to bounce back up from something like that too. Cause sometimes I can't climb the stairs or I can't do, whatever it is. So there's still these challenges. So, you can sit there and everybody can make whatever excuses you want, but it's okay to take a few days if you have to. It's just don't take a few weeks. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a routine and you get out of it, get back in it. And that's the biggest thing for success is life's going to happen. There'll be death. You'll be tired. You'll get sick. But whatever happens, it's just, if you can look in the mirror and just say, did I do my best today? And the answer is yes, no matter what that is. And that's okay.
Yeah, and I think the dangerous thing about taking a couple days or taking a couple weeks or a couple months, like you can take a month off. I mean, I've done it plenty of times where I take a month off and and it feels great. My income, nothing changes. I only feel it, 4 months later. I'm like, I am now feeling the effects of that big trough of where I didn't do anything. All right, man. Well, look, you sound like a very eclectic guy, which I love to talk to you. I ask for a book recommendation. Like I don't even know if you read, Brad. It sounds like so. I mean, here's the setup, right? I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy right now?
Well, love them or hate them, I like staying motivated, and I would honestly listen to the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. It's something that for me, honestly, if you can take out some of the noise, it's big. If there's another one that you really wanted to do and you're like, I don't want to listen to Cardone, the other one I have that everybody should listen to is called Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount.
Yep. That's a good one. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I had Grant on the show a long time ago, right before Grant sort of all blew up, and he's a crazy guy. I mean, I like Grant a lot, and we've shared a lot or had phone calls since, and so I've gotten to know him a little bit, but he's a fantastic guy. He's a really hard guy to keep up with, that guy. That guy is all over the map. When you talk to him, like, it is really hard keeping up with him because his brain just goes boom, boom, and it's all seemingly not connected, and then somehow, right, 30 minutes later, he like brings four all the strands together. I think it's just a quirk of how he processes information, but yeah, 10x rule is good. It's not. I don't think that's for everybody. I think that everybody wants to read the 10x rule and go, okay, It's kind of like right before every school year. I go out and I used to buy a bunch of school supplies. I'm like, okay, this is the semester or the quarter that I'm going to buckle down and do all the right stuff. So the 10x rule is kind of like that in my rule. But Jeb Blount, Fanatical Prospecting. Everybody should go get that or take a look at it.
High Performing Habits is good. By Brendan, I think it's pronounced
Burchard.
Yeah.
Have you read The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna write it down though.
I think you would like it, man. I think it's that book. I think everybody should read. Not everybody is ready for it in their career, but because he talks about all sorts of stuff. Ultimate Sales Machine. All right, man. Look, dude. It's been great. Is there something that we didn't cover that I should have covered?
No, man, it's great. I say this at the end of almost every single podcast it's been or anything. It's always my pleasure to come in and have as many people listen to my story. And I just hope that, I can touch one thing. Actually, there's one thing, because I said I was going to advocate this. For a lot of people who don't know me, I suffer immensely from depression and anxiety. So I have my own demons and stuff like that too. So, I want to end it. Hey, for anybody that's not out there, remember, go get help, and it's okay not to be okay. I am extremely high functioning. I don't sleep as much, but I can still crush an 18 to 20 hour day just like anybody else out there with the help that I got. So, there's high functioning people that need help. There's people that are low functioning and need help. Just remember, it's okay not to be okay and to go get help.
Look, I think that's fantastic, and needing help comes in all sorts of forms, right? It could be depression, it could be overeating, right? There's a million things that afflict everyone around us, and I will just make this one comment, on that, Brad, is that level of authenticity. You seem to be humble early on, but like you revealing that. I think shows me, a level of authenticity that I think is lacking, right? For the most part, when you go back and look at what most people are doing on social media, it's not, in my mind, right? Like when you're posing in front of the Ferrari or that you just leased, you're not being authentic, man. You're creating a caricature of who you want to be, who you want the world to perceive you to be. But the fact is, we all have problems, and for you struggle with depression. For me, I developed in my late 40s a problem with alcohol, right? And I had a hard time going and really admitting that I had a problem. But once I connected with that and I went and got some treatment, my life was transformed. Right? And now I have a different way of looking at the world. I have a different way of navigating the world. And the byproduct is that I'm much happier. And I couldn't have done that, again, to now circle back to your point. I couldn't have done that without outside help. So I'm with you, man.